Three 8-year-old siblings were unaware of their father's existence until a poignant encounter at their mother's resting place revealed the truth. Before we embark on this narrative journey, please share a comment below and let us know your location as you tune in. Delight in the narrative, as the brisk wind coursed through Oakwood Cemetery in Rhode Island, stirring the golden brown leaves that had started to accumulate around the newly excavated grave. The sky hung heavy in a muted gray, perfectly mirroring the sorrow that enveloped the mourners. Among them stood Jackson Montgomery, a figure renowned for his vast fortune, his expansive business empire, and the influence that accompanied his status as one of Wall Street's most formidable investors. Yet today, all of that felt insignificant. Today, he was merely a man grappling with the absence of his beloved wife. Eleanor had been his steadfast support. She was the sole witness to the figure cloaked in wealth, the one who navigated the cold calculations, hidden beneath the polished exterior. They had crafted a shared existence, rich with affection, joy, and a touch of sorrow. The shadow of unfulfilled parenthood lingered in their thoughts, yet they had found a way to coexist with that absence. As he stood by her grave, observing the coffin descend into the earth, a profound emptiness enveloped his heart. It felt like a piece of him had been interred alongside her. The funeral was magnificent, just as anticipated. The distinguished members of Rhode Island society had assembled, some moved by authentic grief, while others attended merely for the sake of the season's most notable gathering. Colleagues, business partners, and friends stepped forward to express their condolences, each handshake and hug feeling somewhat forced. Jackson hardly took any of it in. His world had turned quiet, engulfed by the lingering echoes of Eleanor's laughter, the warmth of her voice forever out of reach. He longed for the crowd to vanish, to grant him solitude in his sorrow. Yet he understood that such a wish was unattainable. A man of his caliber was never genuinely solitary, save for the aspects that held significance. As the service concluded and individuals began to disperse, Jackson stayed rooted in place, gazing at the gleaming wood of the coffin now blanketed in earth. His fingers quivered ever so slightly as he drew his coat closer around himself, the chill gnawing at the fabric. His driver, Thomas, an older man who had been observing from afar, understood that his employer required this moment. Jackson inhaled deeply and began to walk away when something peculiar caught his eye. Three diminutive silhouettes lingered at the periphery of the cemetery, partially obscured by the towering oak tree. Three identical little girls with auburn hair neatly tied back in ponytails, dressed in matching navy blue coats. Their faces were ashen, their expressions inscrutable as they observed him with a focus that felt far beyond their age. They stood out from the other attendees with their unique attire. Amidst a sea of luxurious black coats and high-end scarves, the children stood out in their modest jackets and unadorned dresses. They appeared to be around 8 years old, and there was an unsettling harmony in the way they stood, hands intertwined as if gathering strength from each other. Jackson furrowed his brow, attempting to recognize them. He failed to identify them from past family gatherings, and they certainly didn't resemble any of the business associates who had been present. Yet there was an undeniable quality about them, something that quickened his heartbeat ever so slightly. He was baffled by the reason. One of the girls, indistinguishable from the others, took a tentative step forward, then paused as if weighing her choice. Their eyes locked for an instant, and Jackson experienced an inexplicable attraction to them. Yet, just as he was about to speak or take a step toward them, all three pivoted in flawless harmony and strolled away, vanishing behind the grand oak tree. "Excuse me, sir?" Thomas's voice interrupted his musings. "The vehicle is prepared." Jackson cast a look toward the spot where the triplets had disappeared, then sighed in disbelief. It was likely just a trivial matter. Perhaps they were connected to the cemetery caretaker, or maybe they resided in the vicinity and were just intrigued by the sizable assembly. He brushed off the peculiar meeting and strolled toward the vehicle, his thoughts already plunging back into the depths of sorrow. That evening, as he lingered in his penthouse with a view of the Manhattan skyline, the vision of the three identical girls tormented him. He had never been one to linger on unfamiliar faces, Yet he couldn't dismiss the sense that their presence at the cemetery held a deeper meaning. He filled a glass with whiskey, the golden liquid dancing in the soft glow of his study's light. His gaze drifted to a framed photograph of Eleanor resting on his desk. "I long for you," he murmured, his voice trembling just a bit. Eleanor had always possessed a unique ability to discern significance in the world around her, holding steadfast to the belief that every occurrence unfolded for a purpose. If she were present, she would have advised him to pay attention to his instincts regarding the girls. He exhaled softly and savored a sip of his drink, reassuring himself that it was merely sorrow weaving illusions in his thoughts. Yet, beneath the surface, he was aware that this encounter was far from the final farewell. Jackson Montgomery was not one to linger on the past or fixate on trivial details, yet for some inexplicable reason, the vision of the three identical little girls haunted his thoughts. That night, slumber eluded me. He lay awake in his Manhattan penthouse, gazing at the ceiling, attuned to the distant hum of the city. Whenever he shut his eyes, they reappeared, gathered by the oak tree, their faces ghostly, their motions in perfect harmony, observing him with a gaze that seemed oddly known. By morning, he assured himself that he was merely overanalyzing. The funeral had drained him emotionally, and perhaps he had merely conjured the importance of the moment in his mind. Grief can weave peculiar illusions in the mind. The following afternoon, Jackson sat in his office on the 54th floor of Montgomery Investments, his gaze fixed vacantly on the quarterly reports before him. His assistant had lined up a series of meetings, yet he hardly focused on any of them. His thoughts wandered, captivated by the three enigmatic girls. He devoted his life to making thoughtful choices, tackling challenges, and forecasting market movements with accuracy. Still, he couldn't dispel the sense that this held significance, something he was compelled to grasp. Feeling a surge of irritation, he grabbed his phone and dialed Thomas. "I need you to do something for me," Jackson said as soon as his driver answered. "Do you recall those three little girls at the cemetery yesterday? The ones who lingered by the oak tree?" A moment of silence hung in the air before Thomas replied. "Absolutely, sir. Three identical sisters." It appeared as though they were observing the service from afar. "Precisely. I must uncover their identities." Jackson ran a hand through his salt and pepper hair, fully aware of how peculiar his request might seem. "Inquire with the cemetery staff. They might have observed something noteworthy. Discover all that you can." Thomas accepted without hesitation, a testament to the many reasons Jackson held him in high regard, and concluded the call. As the evening wore on, Jackson reclined in his penthouse, drink in hand, when his phone suddenly rang. It was Thomas. "Sir, I have located them." Jackson straightened his posture, feeling his heart race. "Who are those individuals?" "Harper, Haley, and Hannah Wilson are the names in question. At the age of 8, they reside in Brooklyn alongside their Aunt Charlotte and—" Thomas paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "Excuse me, but there's an additional matter to discuss. Their mother was a woman known as Meredith Wilson." The glass almost tumbled from Jackson's grip upon hearing that name. Meredith Wilson, a name that had slipped from his ears for nearly 10 years, yet remained etched in his memory. They encountered each other at a university fundraiser, where she shone as an exceptional young professor of literature. Their connection was fleeting yet profoundly passionate. A tempest of fervor, mental synergy, and untapped potential that concluded when his professional journey necessitated a relocation to London. "Excuse me, sir?" Thomas's voice drew him back to the here and now. "There's additional information. Meredith departed from this world 3 months ago. Blood cancer." Jackson felt a constriction in his throat. "What about the girls? Did you say there are 8 of them?" "Absolutely, sir. Entered the world on May 12th, 9 years back." 9 years. The timing was impeccably suited to their relationship. A profound understanding enveloped him, pressing down like an anchor. "Thank you, Thomas," he was able to express before ending the call. Jackson strolled to the window, gazing at the twinkling city lights beneath him, his thoughts swirling with possibilities. 3 identical sisters. At the age of 8, Meredith's children, his girls, Thomas, showed up at Jackson's penthouse bright and early the following morning, clutching a manila folder. Jackson lay awake, his thoughts swirling with questions and possibilities, a burgeoning certainty looming that could upend everything he knew. "Everything I could find is in here, sir," Thomas said, setting the folder down on the glass coffee table. "It wasn't a simple task, but I have a connection in public records." Jackson nodded, his hand lingering uncertainly before he finally opened the folder. Within the confines lay the birth certificates of Harper Grace Wilson, Haley Rose Wilson, and Hannah Faith Wilson, each arriving into the world mere minutes apart at New York Presbyterian Hospital. Mom, Meredith Wilson. Father, not mentioned. His throat constricted as he scrutinized the school registration forms, medical records, and ultimately, the death certificate for Meredith Wilson, listing complications from acute myeloid leukemia as the cause of death. The aunt, Charlotte Wilson, serves as a high school counselor in Brooklyn. Thomas continued, "I've been caring for the girls since Meredith left us. It seems they are facing some financial difficulties. The medical bills erased all of Meredith's savings." Jackson gazed at a newspaper clipping detailing Meredith's impressive academic accomplishments. A tenured professor of English literature at Columbia by the age of 32, a published author, and a respected figure in her discipline. And all the while, nurturing triplet daughters on my own. "One more thing," Thomas said, his voice tinged with uncertainty. "This was discovered by me." He presented Jackson with a photograph. 3 little girls in tutus at what seemed to be a ballet recital, their matching faces radiating pure joy. Behind them stood Meredith, more slender than Jackson recalled, her once lively features now drawn, yet her smile shone with a brilliant pride. Something shattered within Jackson. She had kept it to herself. Throughout the years, he had been blessed with daughters, 3 stunning daughters, and, unfamiliar, did she withhold them from him out of malice or for another reason entirely? "Have you discovered any reasons for her lack of communication with me?" Jackson inquired, his voice scarcely rising above a murmur. Thomas shook his head in disbelief. "While I don't have anything definitive, I did have a conversation with a neighbor who was quite familiar with Meredith. They mentioned that she was incredibly independent and always avoided the perception of seeking assistance. It seems she confided in her friends that the girl's father had emphasized his career as his top priority, indicating that he had progressed to more significant opportunities." Jackson shut his eyes, recalling their last exchange before he departed for London. Meredith had urged him to remain, expressing that they could create something genuine together. He brushed it off as unrealistic idealism, explaining to her that his career trajectory was established and couldn't allow for meaningful connections. He was filled with youth, ambition, and a touch of naivety. "Discover their residence," Jackson declared, as a resolution formed clearly in his thoughts, along with their routines, education, engagements, and all details. "Sir, if I might interject," Thomas said with caution, "these young ladies have just experienced the loss of their mother. They are unaware of your existence. Could be a challenge to approach them." "I'm aware," Jackson cut in. "I must exercise caution. I won't intrude into their lives and declare myself as their father. However, I must see them, Thomas. I must grasp what Meredith has brought into existence in my absence." That afternoon, Jackson found himself in his town car, positioned across from PS 107 in Park Slope, observing the lively flow of children as they poured out of the building. Suddenly, he noticed them, 3 indistinguishable girls clad in navy blue school uniforms, their backpacks casually draped over their shoulders, moving in perfect unison. Their daughters, the girls destined to transform it all. For the upcoming week, Jackson Montgomery navigated 2 distinct realities. By day, he was the relentless financier, orchestrating transactions and dominating corporate meetings. As the afternoon waned, he became a quiet watcher, stationed unobtrusively close to ballet studios, schoolyards, and parks, locations where Harper, Haley, and Hannah gathered. He deciphered their rhythms. Ballet lessons took place on Mondays and Wednesdays. On Thursdays, they participated in an after-school art program. Every Friday, Their Aunt Charlotte treated them to ice cream at a quaint little shop in Park Slope. He observed them from afar, seeing reflections of himself in each girl. The resolute tilt of Harper's jaw, Haley's keen eye for detail, and Hannah's fluid gracefulness. Yet it fell short. He craved deeper understanding. Jackson expressed to Thomas his desire for it all. Records of health, academic evaluations, social circles, and reading preferences. I must grasp their essence. Thomas, steadfast in his loyalty yet growing more anxious, gathered whatever he could find. "Sir," he said with caution, presenting another folder. "There's something you ought to see first." Within lay a letter, not directed to Jackson, but intended for the girls. It was discovered among Meredith's belongings following her passing, as per Thomas's informant at the hospital where she had spent her last days. Jackson carefully opened the pages, his hands shaking as he instantly recognized Meredith's graceful script. "My beloved daughters, if you find yourselves reading this, it signifies that I have departed from you earlier than I had hoped. There are countless lessons I long to impart, and a multitude of moments I yearn to experience together. However, be aware of this. You are the most wonderful source of happiness in my life, my 3 exquisite blessings. I have something important to share regarding your father. Jackson Montgomery is his name. He was exceptional, driven, and for a fleeting moment the center of my world. When I found out I was expecting you, he had already embarked on a new journey in London. I made a decision then, maybe correct, maybe not, to keep you from him. It wasn't due to a lack of concern. I recognized his journey distinctly, a promising future that demanded his unwavering commitment. I found it unbearable to be the one who compelled him to make a choice, or even worse, to face his resentment for altering the trajectory of his life. I made the decision for all of us and welcomed the wonderful challenge of nurturing you on my own. I have never looked back on that choice, not when I witnessed your initial smiles, listened to your first words, or observed you taking your first steps. Yet, I've frequently contemplated whether there could come a time when you would require him, or perhaps he would find himself in need of you. If you ever decide to seek him out, understand that my decision does not restrict you. Indeed, you are correct. My heart belongs to you now and for eternity." Mom Jackson read the letter 3 times, tears flowing down his cheeks. She hadn't kept the girls from him due to any ill intentions or resentment. She allowed him the liberty to chase his dreams, bearing the weight by herself. The burden of her sacrifice overwhelmed him. He whispered, almost to himself rather than to Thomas, that she never even attempted to reach out to him. Her sister Charlotte claims that she nearly did it once. Thomas spoke in a hushed tone. When the girls reached the age of 3, Meredith faced significant financial challenges. She did some digging, discovered your marriage to Eleanor, and it appeared you were crafting the very life she had envisioned for you. She chose at that moment to allow you your space. Jackson shut his eyes, picturing Meredith by herself with 3 toddlers, striving to provide for them, never seeking assistance. Though he and Eleanor possessed everything they could desire, the absence of the children they longed for rendered the irony intolerable. "I must meet them," he declared at last. "Not in the manner of their father, not at this moment. Yet, I find it essential to be a part of their lives." Jackson perched on a park bench in Prospect Park, his heart pounding beneath his laid-back outfit. The tailored suit had vanished, giving way to jeans and a straightforward button-down, a bid to appear less formidable. Thomas had set up this meeting via Charlotte Wilson, who had been unexpectedly open once Jackson introduced himself and presented Meredith's letter. Charlotte had informed him over the phone that they recognize him as someone who was acquainted with their mother. "That concludes everything for the moment. The remainder is in your hands." As he observed the route that Charlotte would take with the girls, Jackson mentally prepared his words. "What is the process for? How do you approach the task of meeting the children you've brought into the world but have yet to connect with? Kids who had recently lost their mom and were completely unaware of his true identity? He noticed them before they became aware of his presence. 3 identical figures dressed in jackets of varying colors. Harper donned a striking red, while Haley showcased a vibrant blue, and Hannah embraced a lovely shade of purple. Charlotte had mentioned that they were adamant about donning different colors, a subtle act of defiance against being perceived as a single entity instead of three distinct individuals. Charlotte locked eyes with him and gave a subtle nod, bending slightly to share a secret with the girls. They drew near, warily, examining him with matching looks of intrigue and doubt. "Ladies, this is Mr. Montgomery," Charlotte announced. "The acquaintance of your mother that I mentioned to you." Jackson rose abruptly, a sense of awkwardness washing over him as he felt out of place and larger than life among them. "Hello," he said, his voice gentler than usual. "I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me." The girls remained silent, presenting a cohesive stance. Charlotte pointed to a playground close by. "Why don't you three take some time to play while Mr. Montgomery and I have a conversation?" The triplets shared knowing looks, engaging in one of those unspoken dialogues that only those with a shared bond can understand. At last, they made their way to the swings, keeping their eyes on Jackson. Over their shoulders, "That's Harper in red," Charlotte clarified, seated next to him. "She stands as the guardian, the eldest among them." Haley in blue embodies contemplation, perpetually dissecting thoughts and probing deeper into inquiries. Hannah, adorned in purple, embodies the essence of harmony, the one who experiences emotions with profound intensity. Jackson nodded, making an effort to etch their differences into his mind. "To what extent does she resemble Meredith?" he whispered, observing Hannah's delicate gestures. "Everyone carries fragments of her," Charlotte remarked, "along with fragments of you. Harper embodies your unwavering determination, Haley reflects your sharp analytical mind, and Hannah showcases your artistic sensitivity, even if you may not see it within yourself." They observed the girls at play, keeping their distance from the other children, content in their own company. "They have endured a great deal," Charlotte continued. "Meredith endured illness for nearly a year prior to this." Her voice faded into silence. They remain in a state of contemplation, with Harper hardly uttering a word these days. Haley experiences haunting dreams. Hannah repeatedly sketches the same scene, their mother lying in a hospital bed. Jackson experienced a constricting sensation in his chest. "My desire is to assist them. With all due respect, Mr. Montgomery, your financial support is unnecessary for them. They require a sense of steadiness and reliability. If you choose to be a part of their lives, it must be fully committed." Before Jackson had a chance to reply, Harper moved towards the other two who were following her. She positioned herself squarely before him, her arms folded defiantly. "Did you truly know our mother?" she asserted, her voice powerful, even in her petite frame. Jackson locked eyes with her, aware of the challenge that lay within. "Indeed," he stated honestly. "Once upon a time. What kept you from visiting her? What brings us to this moment of finally meeting you?" Jackson cast a quick look at Charlotte, who responded with a subtle nod. He cast a glance over his shoulder at Harper. "I resided at a considerable distance for numerous years. Had I been aware of your presence, I would have made the trip to see you all." Harper's gaze sharpened. "Seems you have quite a fortune, don't you? I noticed your vehicle." "Harper." Charlotte chided softly. "It's fine," Jackson remarked. "Indeed, I am." Harper's next words pierced through the silence with brutal clarity. "So, what stopped you from assisting Mom during her illness?" Affluent individuals have access to exclusive medical professionals. The clarity of her reasoning, the challenge in her gaze, Jackson found himself without a rebuttal. Before he could craft a reply, Hannah moved closer and examined his expression with keen interest. "Mom gently mentioned that she kept a picture of you in her special box." Silence enveloped the room, leaving everyone momentarily speechless. Then Haley, who had been silently watching the whole interaction, posed the question that shifted everything. "Did you have feelings for our mom? Did you have feelings for our mom?" Haley's question lingered, and for a brief instant, Jackson felt as if he had lost the ability to draw in air. Three identical pairs of eyes observed him with eager anticipation, their gaze unwavering in a way that only children can achieve. This was not a formal discussion in a corporate setting. No clever response could earn him favor or secure an agreement. Only truth existed, Indeed, he replied with ease. Indeed, I was. A transformation flickered across the girl's face, a delicate shift that was both subtle and undeniable. Next, it was Hannah who spoke, her voice soft and soothing. Her smile transformed when she spoke of you, a unique glow that set it apart from her usual expression. Jackson gulped nervously. What did she say regarding me? Harper clenched her arms even more firmly. Nothing much, just that you were clever and driven and resided quite a distance away. She remarked that you were destined to transform the world. Haley interjected, her keen eyes continuing to scrutinize him. Did you really? The question hit Jackson with the force of a punch. Had he transformed the world? He had amassed a fortune, dominated industries, and reshaped cityscapes through his financial ventures. As he sat here, looking at these three little girls, his daughters, all of that felt strikingly empty. I made an effort, and he responded with sincerity. However, I find myself questioning whether I achieved success in the aspects that hold real significance. Charlotte rose to her feet, resting a hand gently on Harper's shoulder. Ladies, it might be time for us to make our way back home. As the hours pass, it becomes increasingly late and, do you have ballet scheduled for the morning? May I have the pleasure of your company once more? Jackson inquired, his gaze focused more on the triplets than on Charlotte. The girls shared knowing looks, engaging in yet another unspoken discussion. At last, Harper voiced the sentiments of the entire group. Perhaps, we'll consider it. As he observed them stroll away, hand in hand with their aunt, Jackson sensed an emotion he hadn't encountered in years, a profound sense of helplessness in the face of unfolding events. The trio of little beings possessed all the authority, and justly so. That night, in his penthouse, Jackson gazed out through the floor-to-ceiling windows at Manhattan, the city he had influenced through numerous investments and developments. The view had consistently brought him a sense of fulfillment, yet this evening it rendered him hollow. He strolled through the pristine expanse, 5,000 square feet of opulence that abruptly seemed overwhelming and desolate. The guest rooms had always remained child-free. The kitchen had always been a place of order, untouched by the chaos of tiny hands. The corridors had always been silent, devoid of laughter or the sound of hurried footsteps racing between rooms. Jackson sat in his home office, enveloped by accolades, financial documents, and reminders of his career achievements. He opened his laptop and began to type, "Raising Triplet Girls," into the search bar. Before long, he found himself deeply engaged in reading about the psychology of multiple births, the significance of acknowledging individuality, and the typical developmental hurdles faced. By morning, his desk was strewn with notes. He had requested books on child development, explored the finest schools in the city, and gathered details on ballet programs. He had even explored homes in desirable school districts, properties with yards, individual bedrooms for each girl, and room to expand. As the first light of dawn broke, he reached out to Thomas. "Please clear my schedule for the upcoming 2 weeks. All matters aside from the Collins merger. That remains." Thomas, familiar with Jackson's exacting standards, yet unaccustomed to taking personal time off, found himself hesitating. "Sir, the investor meeting is scheduled in Boston. Tomorrow, when the board anticipates." "Cancel everything," Jackson interjected, "and locate an expert in children's rooms for me. Decorators, designers, or whatever title they go by. I seek to comprehend how to create a space where 3 8-year-old girls could eventually feel at ease." "Certainly, sir," Thomas responded, concealing his astonishment. "Should I set up another meeting with Ms. Wilson and the girls?" Jackson gazed intently at the photograph he had received of the triplets during their ballet recital. "Not at this moment. They must determine when they feel prepared. For now, I have tasks to attend to." For the first time in his adult life, Jackson Montgomery found himself gearing up for something that his wealth couldn't merely procure. The confidence of 3 young girls who had every reason to stay away and who possessed the keys to a future he had never envisioned. After a long wait of 12 days, Charlotte finally made the call. 12 days in which Jackson completely reimagined the east wing of his penthouse, sought the expertise of child psychologists, and reorganized his corporate framework to carve out time for his afternoons. 12 days spent in a haze of uncertainty, pondering whether he would ever hear from his daughters again. Charlotte mentioned that there is a ballet showcase this Saturday, her tone calm and deliberate. Hannah suggested that you might be interested in attending, and Jackson tightened his grip on his phone. Did Hannah really say that? Indeed, it's Hannah in particular. A moment of stillness. Mr. Montgomery, I must express myself clearly. They remain unaware of your true self at this moment. They perceive you merely as a long-lost companion of Meredith's who has re-entered their world. Jackson acknowledged this, though the dishonesty weighed heavily on his mind. Feel free to call me Jackson. Jackson then. The exhibition commences at 3 o'clock. Parkside Ballet Academy. On Saturday, Jackson occupied a seat in the back row of a cozy auditorium, surrounded by parents, grandparents, and siblings, all holding bouquets and cameras. He felt distinctly out of place in his casual attire, still unable to merge with the surroundings despite his attempts. The program showcased the triplets in the intermediate group performance of the waltz from the Flowers in the Nutcracker. As they stepped onto the stage clad in matching pale pink tutus, Jackson felt a sudden catch in his breath. They glided with an unexpected elegance for their age, their harmony both unsettling and captivating. Even in flawless harmony, he could discern their distinctions. Harper's. The movement is more precise. Haley possesses a greater level of technical expertise. Hannah exhibits greater expressiveness. A woman beside him murmured, "They're quite talented. What remarkable discipline they exhibit at such a young age." Jackson nodded, words caught in the tightness of his throat. A wave of unfamiliar and overwhelming pride surged through him. These remarkable children conveyed his genetic material, yet he had played no role in shaping their growth, their abilities, their strength. Following the performance, he lingered in the lobby, clutching a modest bouquet. As the triplets appeared alongside Charlotte, their faces glowed with a mix of effort and exhilaration. Hannah was the first to notice him. She pulled gently on Harper's sleeve and gestured. The trio drew near, adorned in their theatrical makeup and flowing tutus. "You came," Hannah said, her voice laced with a touch of surprise. "I said I would," Jackson replied, kneeling to their level and presenting the flowers with a gentle smile. "Your performance was truly remarkable." Haley took the bouquet, scrutinizing it with her characteristic keen eye. "These are exquisite roses. These aren't available at typical flower shops," Jackson grinned. "You have a deep understanding of your flowers." "Mom was a botanist before she took on the role of a professor," Harper remarked, her defenses still in place but a touch less confrontational than earlier. "She imparted to us the Latin nomenclature." "Rosa centifolia," Hannah murmured gently. "Mother's cherished choice." Jackson felt a sudden jolt in his chest. He had unknowingly selected Meredith's favorite, a coincidence that carried a sense of importance. He suggested, "Would you like to get ice cream to celebrate your performance?" The girls turned their gaze to Charlotte, who gave a slight nod. "We were on our way there regardless. We'd be delighted to have you with us, Jackson." At the ice cream parlor, Jackson observed the girls passionately discussing flavors, negotiating tastes and combinations with the finesse of experienced negotiators. As they settled in with their decadent sundaes, he caught Haley observing him intently from behind her spoon. "What brings you back at this moment?" she inquired abruptly. "Following the passing of my mother?" Charlotte felt a surge of tension, yet Jackson was ready for this inquiry. He admitted honestly that he had only just learned of your mother's passing. "Upon discovering this, I felt compelled to meet you because," he hesitated, selecting his phrases with precision. "Your mother held a unique place in my heart, and I hope to extend that connection by being a friend to you three as well." "We have friends," Harper stated matter-of-factly. "Indeed," Jackson conceded. "Yet, there are moments when having friends who are adults can be quite beneficial as well. Individuals who offer assistance in various areas." "What do you mean?" Hannah inquired, her curiosity piqued. Jackson paused to reflect. "I have a good amount of knowledge about the city. I could take you to locations that your mother may have found delightful, or assist with assignments. Feel free to share whenever you feel like it." The triplets shared knowing looks, engaging in yet another of their unspoken dialogues. "We'll consider it," Harper finally replied, her usual response. As they were departing, Hannah briefly intertwined her small hand with Jackson's. She whispered her gratitude for the flowers and for being there to witness their dance. Though it was a small act, to Jackson it carried immense significance. The initial delicate bridge spanning the divide between them is, "Are you certain this is a wise choice?" Thomas inquired, glancing at the unassuming brownstone apartment building and the nearby park slope. Jackson fiddled with the collar of his shirt, an unusual sense of anxiety creeping in. "Charlotte extended an invitation to me. She mentioned that the girls have something they want to share with me." 3 weeks had passed since the ballet showcase. During that period, Jackson had been to another performance, enjoyed ice cream with them on 2 occasions, and even watched a children's movie featuring talking animals, which he found unexpectedly captivating. Every encounter was fleeting, meticulously overseen by Charlotte, and concluded before any genuine advancement could occur. However, receiving an invitation to their home felt like a meaningful milestone. Charlotte swung the door open just as he was about to knock, offering him a courteous smile that fell short of reaching her eyes. "They're thrilled," she murmured softly. "Though this is a fresh development, it's important to keep in mind their delicate nature." The cozy apartment, though petite, radiated warmth, its walls adorned with children's artwork, bookshelves brimming with cherished volumes, and photographs scattered throughout, capturing moments of joy. A plethora of photographs. Meredith alongside the girls during their infancy, as toddlers enjoying the beach, playing in the snow, and blowing out birthday candles. A film chronicling a life he had completely overlooked. Mr. Montgomery. Hannah was the first to notice him, hurrying out from what seemed to be the kitchen. Her face bore the marks of flour, while her eyes sparkled with life. "We're crafting Mom's delightful cookies. Come take a look." He trailed behind her into a small kitchen where Harper and Haley were meticulously measuring out ingredients. 3 identical step stools enabled them to access the counter, while 3 matching aprons safeguarded their attire. "Hannah, please wash your hands once more," Harper directed, always in command. She cast a fleeting look at Jackson. "This was a cherished recipe from my mother. We create them on significant occasions." Jackson nodded, grasping the importance of his participation in this ceremony. What gives today its significance? The triplets shared knowing looks. Haley finally revealed that it's her mom's birthday. Her voice was straightforward, even with the feelings lurking beneath. The phrases, "On birthdays we come together to bake." Jackson felt a constriction in his throat. "It truly means a lot to me that you would include me in this," he expressed sincerely. For the next hour, he observed them operate with unexpected harmony. Every girl managing various responsibilities. Hannah blended, Haley quantified. Harper directed the operation. Charlotte took charge. From the doorway, she felt her expression soften as she observed Jackson's authentic wonder at the girls' talents. Once the first batch of cookies was in the oven, Hannah declared, "Now we want to show you our room." Their bedroom felt cramped for 3 blossoming girls. 3 slender beds positioned like the spokes of a wheel, each adorned with unique bedding that showcased their individual characters. Harper's space exuded a sense of order, with books meticulously arranged by size. In Haley's corner, a modest telescope stood alongside a charming collection of rocks. Hannah's space was brimming with plush companions and art-filled sketch pads. "Mom allowed us to personalize our own areas," Haley elaborated, gesturing towards the walls separated into 3 unique color palettes. She remarked that, despite our outward similarities, our inner selves are quite different. "That seems like sound counsel," Jackson remarked thoughtfully, observing every aspect of their surroundings. "This belonged to Mom," Harper said abruptly. They opened a wooden box resting on a small desk that seemed to belong to both of them. Within rested a trove of wonders. Ticket stubs, pressed flowers, some delicate jewelry, and a photograph that Jackson instantly recognized. There they were, him and Meredith, vibrant and full of laughter, his arm draped casually around her shoulders as they took in the sights of the Columbia University campus. He recalled the day with vivid clarity. In the crisp air of early autumn, leaves were starting to change, and Meredith had just discovered that she had been awarded the research grant she had longed for. He murmured this softly, almost as if it were a secret meant only for himself, rather than for the girls. She mentioned you were her person for what-ifs, Hannah said gently. Jackson gazed upward, a look of bewilderment on his face. What about her? Her person of possibilities, Haley repeated. The individual who sparked her curiosity about how life might have unfolded had circumstances changed. The clarity of the explanation struck Jackson with surprising intensity. He was Meredith's what-if, just as she had been his, in the quiet moments when success felt empty and achievement hollow. Do you have a what-if person? Harper asked, her guard momentarily lowered by the shared moment of vulnerability. Jackson looked at the three of them, these perfect combinations of himself and Meredith, and nodded. I did. Your mother was mine. The oven timer pulled him back from the brink of overwhelming emotion. As they hurried to inspect their cookies, he lingered in their room for a moment, caressing the photograph softly before placing it back in the box. Meredith had woven him into the fabric of her existence, in her own unique manner. Now he had to prove himself worthy of a place in their daughters' lives, in his own. As autumn graced New York, Central Park transformed into a canvas of amber and gold hues. Jackson spent his lunch break on a bench by the pond, observing the leaves gently floating on the water's surface. His mind wandered to three little girls who had slowly taken over his thoughts, his plans, and more, his heart. The triplets had settled into a certain rhythm with him. Saturday afternoons at AI Way, exploring various museums, parks, or bookstores, always with Charlotte close by, meticulously planned and organized. Jackson had mastered the art of understanding their unique personalities, presenting astronomy books to Haley, new ballet slippers to Hannah, and thoughtfully chosen novels for Harper, who was the most reserved of the trio. Today, however, Jackson was not scheduled to meet with them. He sat in solitude, poring over contracts on his tablet, when a message from Charlotte chimed on his phone. Students have a shortened day at school. Curious if you have some time available this afternoon? There's a question they'd like to pose to you. Jackson effortlessly rescheduled 3 meetings during a conference call, then made their way to a beloved spot, a quaint cafe near the American Museum of Natural History, where the owner always treated the girls to extra whipped cream on their hot chocolate. Upon his arrival, they were already settled at what had turned into their designated spot. Harper immersed herself in a book, while Haley animatedly conveyed her thoughts through intricate hand movements, and Hannah diligently captured her surroundings in her ever-present notebook. As they gazed up at him, he felt a familiar pang of realization about their striking resemblance. Yet the subtle differences were unmistakable. You came, Hannah exclaimed, the most openly affectionate of the trio. Certainly, Jackson remarked, easing into the vacant chair. Charlotte mentioned you had a question for me. The triplets shared knowing looks, their unspoken understanding evident. At last, Harper set her book aside and fixed her gaze on him. We have a school project. She started with a sense of purpose, focused on family heritage. Jackson felt a sudden jolt at the mention of family, yet he maintained a calm facade. Everyone is required to give a presentation on their ancestral origins. Haley continued, adjusting her glasses, complete with photographs and artifacts and such. Hannah mentioned that Mom had some items from her side, but we're in the dark about it all. What is it about? Her voice faded, yet the meaning was unmistakable. They were completely unaware of their father's lineage, as they had no knowledge of his identity. Charlotte mentioned that you have extensive knowledge about Mom's college friends. Harper spoke with caution, suggesting that perhaps you could assist us in uncovering details about others she was acquainted with. Jackson stole a glance at Charlotte, who offered a subtle nod, granting him the go-ahead to tread carefully through this sensitive landscape. I'd be glad to assist, he replied, maintaining a steady tone, even with the feelings swelling within him. What is the deadline for the project? Haley mentioned it would take 2 weeks. Jackson quickly considered the need to gather photographs and discuss traditions and related topics. Interestingly, I'm aware that your mother's lineage traces back to Scotland, and she held a deep affection for their customs. Hannah chuckled as she recalled the time she convinced me to try haggis. What is haggis? With a feigned gravity, Jackson declared something utterly dreadful, prompting smiles from all three girls. However, I could share additional insights on that and perhaps assist you in exploring some Scottish traditions for your project. That sounds promising, Harper remarked, maintaining a formal tone, yet revealing a hint of openness. If you'd like, Hannah said with a hint of shyness, you could come over to our apartment this weekend to work on it. All of Mom's old photo albums are stored there. Jackson noticed Charlotte's gaze once more, observing her quiet astonishment at the invitation. This marked the first occasion the girls had invited him to their home, instead of convening in a neutral location. I would appreciate that greatly, he replied, making an effort to suppress the emotion in his voice. As they savored their hot chocolates, Jackson caught Haley observing him with her keen, analytical eyes. She noted how your eyes crinkled at the corners when you smiled. Just as Hannah did, so shall you. The straightforward observation struck him with a sudden intensity. Could they have intuitively grasped their bond with him? Were the subtle similarities they shared starting to come into focus for them? Is that really the case? He managed to respond with a casual tone, as Charlotte effortlessly shifted the topic. However, as he observed their departure, Jackson sensed that a change had occurred. He was welcomed into their space, embraced by their endeavor, and drawn into their inquiries about lineage and kin. A door was being opened, even if just a crack that could ultimately reveal the truth. For the first time, he permitted himself to dream that one day they could not merely recognize him as their father, but embrace him as their dad. This time, the brownstone had an unmistakable air about it. As Jackson ascended the steps to Charlotte's apartment, he felt a delicate change in intention. This was more than a mere visit. The Triplets had specifically invited him to assist with their heritage project, which focused on family. His stomach knotted with anticipation as he rapped on the door. Harper replied, her expression as grave as ever. You're right on schedule, she noted, stepping back to allow him entry. Jackson discovered that being on time made a positive impression on her. She was a young one who cherished structure and dependability. Within the confines of the living room, a remarkable transformation had taken place, evolving into a hub of creativity and planning. The coffee table brimmed with an array of craft supplies, while photo albums were arranged with care on the couch. Hannah knelt on the floor, meticulously arranging colored paper, while Haley sat cross-legged, her laptop open, clearly engrossed in her research. We're creating a trifold presentation board, Haley explained, her gaze fixed elsewhere. One part dedicated to Mom's heritage, another for Scotland, just as you mentioned, and one for... She paused for a moment, then completed her task. The essence of New York's vibrant culture. Jackson recognized the void in their project, the place where their father's legacy ought to reside. He placed the bag he had carried beside him and settled onto the edge of the couch. He reached into the bag, saying he had brought some things that could be of assistance. Several volumes on Scottish clans, images capturing the essence of Edinburgh, the birthplace of your mother's lineage, and he took a moment to let the tension build. Genuine Scottish shortbread. Hannah's eyes sparkled at the mention of treats, yet it was Harper who took the floor to speak. Before we begin, she stated, her petite voice unexpectedly commanding. There's a significant matter we need to discuss. Jackson experienced a constriction in his chest. Absolutely. The Triplets shared knowing looks, and Charlotte, having watched from the kitchen doorway, settled down nearby, close enough to offer her support while allowing the girls the freedom to express themselves. We held a family meeting, with Harper stepping up as the designated spokesperson. Concerning you, what can I share about myself? Jackson maintained a cheerful demeanor even though his heart was pounding. Indeed, Haley has confirmed. We discussed the reasons behind your time with us and what signifies. Hannah nodded with sincerity. We established a few guidelines. Jackson blinked, taken aback by their straightforwardness. Understood. Could you please share these rules with me? Harper retrieved a creased piece of paper from her pocket and gently unfolded it. First rule. You can be our companion, but you can't attempt to take Mom's place. I would never attempt that, Jackson said softly. Your mother was one of a kind. Harper nodded, content, and pressed on. Second guideline. When you commit to a task, it must be done. Keep your commitments. Jackson wholeheartedly concurred. Rule 3, Haley interjected. There will be no attempts to purchase our camaraderie with lavish gifts. Hannah suggested making an exception for birthdays, but we collectively agreed to stick to our decision without any exceptions. Jackson couldn't help but smile. That seems reasonable. Rule 4, Hannah murmured gently. It's essential that you share the truth with us. Silence enveloped the room. Jackson sensed Charlotte's gaze upon him, the gravity of the moment bearing heavily. He vowed it would be so, yet he couldn't help but recognize the irony woven into his promise. Here he stood, professing a commitment to honesty while hiding the most essential truth. And thus, Harper reached the conclusion of Rule 5. Should we choose, your presence is no longer welcome, and we ask that you honor that decision. The final rule struck Jackson with the force of a tangible impact. The thought that these 3 little girls could choose to erase him from their lives once more was nearly too much to bear. Yet he grasped their desire for control, for limits in a world where so much had been lost. Them already. I accept all your rules, he stated with gravity. I appreciate your clarity regarding your requirements. A subtle shift in Harper's posture indicated a hint of relaxation. She carefully folded the paper and slipped it back into her pocket. All right, we can initiate the project at this moment. For the next 2 hours, they collaborated on their presentation, Jackson thoughtfully recounting tales from Meredith's college days and sharing insights into Scottish traditions, all while skillfully avoiding any inquiries about paternity. When Hannah finally stumbled upon the shortbread and urged everyone to pause for a cookie break, the mood had brightened significantly. While Jackson assisted Haley in exploring clan tartans, she unexpectedly inquired, "Did you know our dad?" He almost let the book slip from his grasp. "What prompts your inquiry?" She nonchalantly shrugged, her gaze fixed on the glow of her laptop screen. "I'm simply curious. Mother rarely mentioned him." Before Jackson could gather his thoughts, Charlotte stepped in effortlessly. "Ladies, why not present Mr. Montgomery with the photos you've chosen for the Scotland section?" As Jackson made his way home later, Haley's question lingered in his thoughts, refusing to fade away. The girls exhibited sharp intelligence and keen observation skills. When did they begin to establish a connection? What about the dots? And when the moment arrived, would they be able to overlook the essential falsehood? "What are your thoughts on the Central Park Zoo?" Jackson proposed, casting a look over the table at the triplets as they completed their sandwiches. On a Saturday afternoon, the crisp November air flowed gently. Through the cafe windows, their familiar weekend outing evolving into a cozy ritual. Harper shook her head with firm determination. "We've visited that place 5 times already. Every spring we would go with Mom." He attempted once more at the Natural History Museum. "I've experienced that as well," Haley remarked, adjusting her glasses. "We've experienced all the dinosaurs not once, but twice." Jackson nodded, understanding that he had to propose a fresh idea, one that wouldn't intertwine with their recollections of adventures with Meredith. He had taken great care in that regard, ensuring he did not overshadow their experiences with hers, but instead crafted unique moments that could coexist with those cherished memories. "What are your thoughts on ice skating?" Hannah proposed abruptly, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "We have yet to experience the thrill of ice skating." Jackson beamed. "Woolman Rink? That sounds like it could be an enjoyable experience." "We have no idea," Harper replied without hesitation, her pragmatic side coming to the forefront. "I have the ability to instruct." Jackson extended the offer. "In my younger days, I spent a lot of time on my skateboard." The girls shared knowing looks, engaging in one of their unspoken dialogues before Harper gave a subtle nod. "All right, but we may not excel in that area." "That's the exciting aspect," Jackson assured her, exploring new ideas side by side. An hour later, they arrived at the rink, the girls wrapped in coordinating scarves and mittens that Charlotte had insisted on, even though the triplets typically favored their own unique colors. Jackson had organized a private lesson with a skilled instructor, not to flaunt his affluence, but because he believed the girls would be more at ease learning in a more intimate environment. Harper stepped onto the ice with unwavering resolve. Haley examined the scene with thoughtful scrutiny, while Hannah ventured forth with a mix of enthusiasm and nervous anticipation. In the initial moments, Hannah burst into laughter. Haley scrutinized the incident, while Harper promptly rose to give it another shot. Jackson navigated among them, providing a reassuring touch, simple guidance, and unwavering support. As the second hour unfolded, all three began to navigate the rink with increasing independence, their confidence blossoming with every circuit they completed. "Watch me," Hannah called, releasing Jackson's hand as she glided forward with confidence. She teetered yet held her ground, her expression glowing with a sense of achievement. "I'm in on it as well," Haley chimed in, trying a slight turn that almost resulted in calamity before Jackson grabbed her elbow. Even Harper appeared to be having a good time. Her typical serious demeanor transformed into a focused intensity as she honed her craft. As the afternoon progressed, the girls became weary yet remained resolute, committed to perfecting this newfound ability. As Hannah hit the ice with a thud, tears welled up in her eyes, even as she tried to maintain her composure. Jackson quickly knelt beside her, concern etched on his face. "You know," he said softly, "even the most skilled skaters stumble. The crucial aspect is rising again," Hannah sniffled. "Is the pain always this intense?" Jackson replied with sincerity, "Not always. With time, it becomes more manageable, and you grow more resilient." She examined his features intently, then gave a nod and accepted his assistance to rise. As they returned to where Charlotte stood with steaming cups of hot chocolate, Hannah gently intertwined her small hand with Jackson's. "This was enjoyable," she remarked with a hint of satisfaction. "Even the descent." Haley gave a thoughtful nod, signaling her agreement. The dynamics of skating are truly fascinating. The edge generates heat through contact with the ice, causing a thin layer to melt beneath you, allowing for a smooth glide, only to refreeze almost instantly afterward. "Haley," Harper interjected, rolling her eyes, "not everything requires an in-depth analysis." Jackson chuckled. "Indeed, I find it quite intriguing. Perhaps we could explore some literature on the science behind sports." Haley's eyes sparkled with excitement at the suggestion, and even Harper seemed intrigued. As they sat sipping hot chocolate, their cheeks rosy from the chill and activity, Jackson sensed a change in the air. The day offered no dramatic insights, no profound emotional shifts, just the quiet joy of discovering something new side by side, of stumbling and rising once more, of crafting moments that were distinctly theirs, shared among the four of them. When he dropped them off at Charlotte's later, Harper caught him off guard by asking, "Can we skate again next Saturday? I wish to refine my turns." Though it lacked emotional fervor, it held great importance coming from Harper. A definite sign that she desired his return, that she envisioned a future for them together. Without a doubt, Jackson remarked, his heart brimming with more emotion than it had experienced in years. "So, it's settled for Saturday." The jewelry store on Fifth Avenue had a reputation for catering to affluent clientele, yet even they appeared taken aback by Jackson Montgomery's inquiry. He described 3 identical lockets, each custom designed, to the master jeweler. "I desire them to be alike, yet with nuanced variations that showcase 3 unique personalities." The jeweler acknowledged with a nod, jotting down notes. "What about the engravings you referred to?" Jackson presented a sheet of paper featuring 3 different versions of the same message. He had devoted weeks to contemplating this present, aiming for it to hold significance without being too much. An item the girls could cherish while remaining at ease. He mentioned that he would like them by next Saturday. "Mr. Montgomery, custom work of this caliber usually necessitates," Jackson interjected softly. "Cost is irrelevant. This holds significant value." The upcoming Saturday marked the 9th birthday of the triplets. Charlotte had extended an invitation to him for the intimate gathering at their apartment, marking yet another step in the slow progression of his relationship with the girls. In recent months, they had established a cozy rhythm. Saturdays were meant for adventures. On Tuesdays, he would occasionally join them for dinner, and from time to time, he would attend school events or ballet recitals. He had discovered deeper insights into their unique traits, including Harper's passionate defense of her sisters and her hidden affection for poetry, Haley's exceptional intellect and her assortment of scholarly publications. Hannah possesses a remarkable artistic flair and an innate sensitivity to the feelings of those around her. They had transformed from mere triplets into something far more significant to him. They were three unique, remarkable little girls. The birthday celebration was intimate, featuring only Charlotte, a handful of schoolmates, and Jackson. The girls had asked for a decor free of childish elements, yet Charlotte found a middle ground with elegant blue and silver balloons and a cake crafted to resemble a stack of books, blending Harper's passion for reading, Haley's thirst for knowledge, and Hannah's flair for artistic design. As the moment arrived for the unveiling of gifts, Jackson held back, patiently observing as the others tore into their packages. Fresh ballet shoes from Charlotte, thoughtful books from friends, vibrant art supplies, and intriguing science kits. At last, he presented each girl with a delicately wrapped, small box, exuding elegance. "These are unique," he murmured gently. "I have something that I believe you would find valuable." The triplets unveiled their boxes at the same moment, just as they frequently approached significant tasks. Within each lay a sterling silver locket, elegantly oval yet marked by delicate variations. Harper's featured a design with sharper angles. Haley's showcased a delicate sapphire accent. Hannah's edges were gently curved. "They're stunning," Hannah murmured, eagerly unwrapping hers. Within each locket lay a small photograph of Meredith, beaming as the girls recalled her before her battle with illness. On the other side, there lies an engraving. Within the pages of Harper's, "The essence of your mother's strength resonates through you." In Haley's, "The essence of your mother's wisdom is embodied within you." Within Hannah's, "The essence of your mother's heart resides in you." Silence enveloped the room as every girl absorbed her message. Jackson paused, a wave of anxiety washing over him as he feared he might have crossed a line. Had he overstepped his bounds? Did I make the gift too intimate? Harper was the one to take the initiative, delicately closing her locket and gracefully slipping the chain around her neck. Haley trailed behind, making adjustments to the length accordingly. The locket rested in flawless symmetry. Hannah gazed up at Jackson, her eyes glistening with tears before she joined him in shedding her own. "What gave it away?" she inquired softly. "Guess what?" Jackson inquired. "That mother always shared those sentiments with us," Harper articulated, her tone unexpectedly gentle. "She referred to me as her source of strength. And I, her wisdom," Haley added. "And me, her heart," Hannah concluded. Jackson sensed the moisture gathering in his eyes. He confessed that he was unaware. "However, your mother once shared with me that she recognized those traits within herself. Seems she shared them with all of you." Charlotte, observing from a distance, offered him a subtle nod of approval. While they had never openly addressed his actual connection to the girls, Jackson had a feeling she might have figured it out, or maybe Meredith had shared it with her sister prior to her passing. As the celebration unfolded, Jackson observed each girl occasionally caressing her locket, a subtle gesture that appeared to bring them solace. As the moment to depart arrived, Hannah embraced him warmly, a ritual she had come to cherish. Haley extended her customary high five, accompanied by a sincere smile, and Harper, maintaining her quiet demeanor yet with a gentler touch, embarked on an unfamiliar action. She offered her hand with a sense of formality. "Thank you for attending our birthday," she said with the seriousness of a 9-year-old, "and for keeping Mom in our thoughts while we were together." Jackson grasped her petite hand, reflecting her earnest demeanor. "I appreciate being part of your celebration." As he stepped out of the brownstone, he caught sight of the three girls at the window, their identical faces reflecting a trio of distinct emotions, each adorned with the locket that linked them to their mother, and now, in a subtle way, to him. Winter enveloped New York, turning the city into a scene of snow-kissed structures and foggy panes. As the season shifted, Jackson found himself navigating fresh dynamics in his developing bond with the triplets. Saturday ice skating evolved into a cherished tradition, with the girls making noticeable progress each week. Tuesday dinners now showcased lively discussions about literature, scientific discoveries, factual insights, and the intricacies of ballet techniques. And sometimes, when Charlotte craved a night to unwind, Jackson would take over, not exactly babysitting as Harper insisted, but simply spending time together. On a crisp evening in early December, Jackson made his way to the brownstone, a folder securely tucked under his arm. The girls welcomed him in their unique ways. Hannah enveloped him in an eager embrace. Haley launched into an elaborate explanation of her science project, while Harper offered a thoughtful critique of his timeliness. "What is that?" Harper inquired, gesturing towards the folder while Jackson draped his coat on the rack. "There's something I wanted to share with you three," he responded. "How about after dinner?" Charlotte had prepared a delicious homemade lasagna, and the four of them seamlessly settled into their familiar routine. Jackson meticulously set the table as Haley focused on the exact timing for reheating. Meanwhile, Hannah crafted napkins into intricate shapes, and Harper managed the whole process with her clipboard checklist in hand. As they dined, Jackson observed the significant transformations that had unfolded in the 6 months since their initial encounter. Dialogue now unfolded effortlessly. Inside jokes had formed, and his presence had become a familiar, anticipated part of the routine. The triplets continued to uphold certain limits. Some subjects were deemed untouchable. Some memories remained intimate. However, the barriers had diminished considerably. Once dinner was finished and the girls busied themselves with clearing the table, a chore chart displayed prominently on the refrigerator caught the eye. Meanwhile, Jackson began to sift through the folder resting on the coffee table. "I have a project I'd like your thoughts on," he remarked nonchalantly. The young women congregated, filled with curiosity. Within lay architectural drawings, blueprints for what seemed to be an expansive apartment. "What is this all about?" Haley inquired, her gaze fixed on the measurements. "E is considering a move," Jackson shared. "The space I occupy feels overly expansive for a single individual, lacking the warmth and essence of a true home." Hannah examined the sketches of a new apartment she was contemplating. "The property features 4 bedrooms. "Indeed," Jackson replied with caution. "A master bedroom accompanied by 3 additional rooms. I would appreciate your input on how to design those rooms." The triplets shared knowing looks, their unspoken understanding evident. "What's the reason for needing 3 additional bedrooms?" Harper inquired straightforwardly, always the realist. Jackson inhaled deeply. This was the moment he had meticulously crafted for. Not an entire unveiling, but a progression toward it. "I thought it could be lovely if, at some point, the 3 of you might consider staying over from time to time, if that aligns with your comfort level." A quiet moment passed between the girls. Then Haley, ever the pragmatist. "Approval from our aunt is necessary." Without hesitation, Jackson readily agreed. "I have already had a conversation with Charlotte. She considers it could be a worthwhile notion in the future, but only if it aligns with your desires." Hannah was eagerly poring over the blueprints, her enthusiasm palpable. "Would it be possible for each of us to have our own room in unique colors?" "That's precisely what I had in mind," Jackson remarked, a smile spreading across his face at her excitement. "Every room crafted uniquely for each individual." Harper held onto her doubts. "We've always had Aunt Charlotte with us, not since Mom was around." "I see," Jackson replied softly. "This is not an immediate necessity. It's merely strategizing for potential outcomes." Haley adjusted her glasses, meticulously examining the layout. "The corner room receives the greatest amount of natural light. This would be the best choice for my telescope." Harper cast her a glance. "Are you really choosing rooms already?" "I'm considering my choices," Haley clarified. "This is a theoretical examination." Hannah had already picked up a pencil and was illustrating ballerinas in the margins of the blueprint. "My room might feature a bar along one wall for practice purposes." Jackson observed them intently, assessing their responses. This was sensitive ground, hinting at a profound involvement in their lives, a more enduring bond. Out of the blue, it was Harper who finally voiced the question that had lingered in silence for months. What is the purpose behind all of this? What makes you so invested in our well-being? Silence enveloped the room. Even Hannah ceased her drawing. Jackson sensed the weight of 3 identical pairs of eyes upon him, poised in anticipation. He selected his words with great precision. You 3 hold the utmost significance in my life at this moment. Getting to know you and sharing moments together has transformed my entire perspective. But what is the reason? Harper insisted. We're merely young souls you encountered at a memorial. Jackson cast a look toward the kitchen, where Charlotte stood in the doorway, attentive to the sounds around her. She offered him a subtle nod, granting him the freedom to steer this moment in whatever direction he chose. He spoke gently, revealing, I held deep feelings for your mother. I can perceive so many of her qualities reflected in each of you. However, I've grown to appreciate each of you for precisely who you are. He took a moment, then continued. Individuals enter our lives through various means. Some are born into our families, others cross our paths by mere coincidence, and some we intentionally invite into our circles. I'm opting to remain a part of your lives, if you'll allow me to carry on. Hannah took the initiative, settling down next to him on the couch. I want a purple room, she stated plainly. Haley acknowledged with a nod, jotting down a note on the blueprint. The illumination in the corner room is truly exceptional, and I would require shelves for my collection. Harper hesitated at first, yet her demeanor revealed a gentle warmth. I guess it could be all right to have another place to stay from time to time, then with my usual straightforwardness. However, I would require a substantial bookcase. The largest one I can discover, Jackson vowed, his spirit buoyant like never before. As the night deepened and the girls settled into their slumber, Jackson made his way to the door, only to be halted by Charlotte's presence. You're making great progress with them, she remarked softly. Your trustworthiness is evident. Insufficient for the complete truth, Jackson responded. Not at this moment. Charlotte pondered this. They are intelligent young women. Questions are already being raised about the similarities they observe. Especially Haley. I understand. Fear grips me. That they might sense a feeling of betrayal? Charlotte completed it for him. That presents a potential challenge. However, the more time you let pass, the greater that risk grows. Jackson acknowledged the caution with a nod. Before long, he assured, I simply want to ensure they feel a sense of security initially. As he departed the brownstone that evening, he cast a look at the windows where the triplets lay in slumber. 3 little girls who transformed his entire universe. 3 daughters who were slowly weaving their way into his heart, just as he cautiously, yet optimistically, sought to weave his way into theirs. It's truly enormous, Hannah murmured, her voice reverberating softly in the vacant apartment. The 4 of them gathered in the heart of Jackson's new residence, a roomy Upper West Side apartment featuring expansive windows that framed views of Central Park. After 6 months of meticulous planning, designing, and construction, the space had been transformed into the exact vision they had shared. Would you like to take a look at your rooms? Jackson inquired, attempting to mask his unease. The triplets exchanged glances and trailed behind him down the hallway. He swung open 3 doors, each unveiling a distinctively crafted environment. Harper's featuring towering bookshelves that stretch from floor to ceiling, complemented by a cozy window seat, perfect for indulging in a good book. Haley's features a desk designed for her scientific endeavors, complemented by the anticipated corner windows. Hannah stands gracefully by the ballet bar, embodying softness. Vibrant violet walls and a canvas stand positioned by the light-filled window. Their flawless Hannah glided into her room, a breath of elegance in motion. Haley concurred, already experimenting with the height of her desk for the best fit. Harper glided her fingers over the spines of the books. Jackson had adorned her shelves with timeless classics and contemporary treasures. She spoke softly, recalling all our requests. Everyone, Jackson affirmed. However, There is one additional room I would like to present to you. He guided them toward a door situated at the end of the corridor. Within the confines of the room lay a modest study adorned with 3 framed photographs gracing the wall. Meredith alongside each of the girls during their infancy. This is the memory room, he elaborated. A space where your mother will forever be a part of this home as well. In that moment, the 3 girls found themselves utterly without words. The morning unfolded with clarity and a refreshing chill as Jackson positioned himself behind the triplets at Greenwood Cemetery. Nearly a year had gone by since Eleanor's funeral. The moment he first caught sight of 3 identical little girls peering at him from behind an oak tree. They stood side by side at Meredith's grave, the gleaming stone etched with her name reflecting the winter sunlight. Every girl grasped a solitary white rose. Hannah softly placed her white roses against the stone, a tender tribute to her mother's cherished memory. Haley placed hers next to Hannah's, remarking that they represent fresh starts. Harper was the final one to set down her flower. And remembrance, she concluded gently. Jackson chose to hold his tongue, allowing them this moment to unfold. The previous year had altered the course of their lives entirely. His opulent yet hollow life is now enriched with ballet performances, science endeavors, and enchanting bedtime tales. Their realm of sorrow slowly broadening to embrace fresh opportunities, new relationships. Charlotte had guided him in his preparations, feeling that the girls were at last prepared for this moment. The triplets had been spending the night at his apartment consistently for months, transforming their rooms into spaces that felt genuinely theirs, adorned with cherished belongings and memories. Harper pivoted abruptly, her gaze intense as it locked onto Jackson's. "We understand," she stated plainly. Jackson's heart came to a sudden halt. "Guess what? Haley made it clear that you are our father. We have come to a conclusion. We discovered Mom's letters," Hannah remarked, "the ones she never delivered to you." Jackson lowered himself, locking eyes with them. "I wanted to share something with you. We're aware of that as well," Harper interjected. After what seemed like an endless moment, she moved closer and grasped his hand. "Mom would be pleased to see you here now, Dad."